former student athlete of Gonzaga University, Matt continued his basketball career playing professionally throughout Europe after graduation. Matt eventually moved back to Spokane with his wife Kathy, sons Calvin and Luca, and daughter Stella. After working in financial services and in insurance, basketball once again came calling. In April 2014, as Matt took over a new role as executive director for Spokane Hoop Fest and Spokane Regional AAU Basketball Club, involving him in the largest 3-on-3 basketball tournament in the world and our region's premier youth basketball program. Please help me welcome Matt to the stage.
Oh, basketball came calling. Basketball came calling about 3 weeks ago. So 3 weeks ago, today actually, I was celebrating my 39th birthday by fasting in preparation for my first ever surgery. I dislocated my kneecap playing, of all things, basketball. So these last few weeks have been kind of a time of reflection, which I think ties into this morning very, very well. Because I've had one of the good things about this injury, one of the few good things about this injury so far, is the fact that I did do it playing basketball. And basketball has played a tremendous role throughout my entire life. I've had tremendous passion, so I am actually very grateful and very thankful for the fact that I had this injury doing what I love doing. It wasn't trying to learn how to ski, it wasn't getting out of bed, it wasn't slipping on ice, it was doing what I feel like I was meant to do and be a part of, and that's play basketball. And so in that reflection, I started to think about the role basketball has played throughout my life. And in order to do that, I have to go way back. And I have to go way back to when I was a kid. I grew up in North Portland, inner city Portland. I'm the youngest of 9 children. I have 5 sisters and 3 brothers. 3 brothers taught me how to be physically tough. 5 sisters taught me how to be emotionally and mentally tough. I can say that the lesson I learned from my sisters is a lot stronger than the lessons I learned from my brothers. I didn't grow up with a lot. We had a lot of love, a lot of support from my family, but not a lot of stuff. And that was okay for us, a good Italian Catholic family in North Portland. And honestly, the neighborhood I grew up in was pretty rough. My parents lived in the same home for 54 years now. Over those 54 years, there's a lot of things that have happened in that neighborhood, a lot of change. But while I was growing up, and in my time at home, my mom was actually interviewed twice on the local news during that time. And the question was, what's it like living in such a tough neighborhood? One was after a man was found stabbed in our front yard, my dad found him. And one was after a drive-by shooting on our front porch. And my mom, my sweet, sweet mom, looked at the news and she said, well, we have our problems just like every other neighborhood. Well, I know now as I'm a little bit older and a little more perspective, not every neighborhood was the same as North Portland. However, it was that instilled another level of toughness and a little bit of street smarts too for me and my brothers and sisters growing up in that type of environment. And basketball is my way out. It was kind of the ticket out of the hood, if you will, the ticket out of the neighborhood. And I take great pride in that. And so I started to think about those early influences on my life that allowed me to kind of find my passion early, develop it, support it, and grow it so that basketball could play the role that it has. Of course, I think of my mom and dad without question. They're the first and most. And I started to think about the coaches. I had great coaching all my life. Not just from a basketball perspective, even though that is definitely one of them, but from a character development, educational standpoint, mentorship, leadership. I had great examples throughout my life to model my, model my character, model my goal setting, model my approach, perspective on things. I was really, really fortunate. Now, where I lived, we didn't have a ton of resources. We were a little bit different generation. We had to go to the park. I had to go out in the driveway. We had a basketball hoop in my driveway, and obviously, I'll give you the caveat afterwards. I used to go out and shoot so much, and my pride was always eventually I'd rip the net. And so my dad would go up and he'd take the net down and he'd hang it on a nail in the garage and he'd put up a new net. And I would go out and shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot. And I'd rip the net, and my dad would go out and take off the net and put up the new net. And that was always kind of a source of pride because I was working so hard because I just love to be in the driveway. I love to be with the basketball in my hands. I think an empty gym is absolutely sacrilegious. It's sacrilegious. And so now the caveat is the fact that it rains a lot in Portland, and so the nets were heavier. So it wasn't necessarily that I was a good shooter, but it was a lot of weight on the net, so it didn't take as much to rip it. But we didn't have, the bricks and mortar. And so when I think about this morning and what we all have the opportunity to do, and I love the pastor's words, the opportunity to serve. And we serve in a lot of different ways, right? We can give our time, our talent, and or our treasure. And there's a lot of different ways to be involved with an organization like the Hub. And when I think about the organization like the Hub, yes, the first thing is the building itself, and that's a lot of where this capital campaign is. But at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're allowing a leadership team and Phil and his group to provide that mentorship, to provide that leadership. There are a lot of people in my neighborhood that did not get out, that did not go on and find that passion, find that direction, weren't fortunate enough to be able to go on beyond North Portland. They're still stuck in the hood. And there's a tremendous amount of pride in that, but they didn't have the opportunities that I had. They didn't have the opportunities that all of you will be providing for the kids that are going to the Hub. I don't know if I'm in the minority or the majority as far as what those opportunities have been for me. I know my journey's been somewhat unique. But for the majority of these kids, they need that, the human side. They need those relationships. They need that opportunity. The Hub allows us to do that, provide that inside our community. And I think that part is huge, because I just think of, had I not had those people in my life growing up, I wouldn't be able to have the opportunity to have. I wouldn't have gone on to play basketball in high school. I would not have had the opportunity to come to Gonzaga, experience the success that we had here locally, and then eventually go on to get paid to play ball. And then eventually turn 39 and blow my knee out. But that's beside the point. So I think it's really that opportunity that we have here this morning to provide that outlet for those kids that otherwise wouldn't have it. I think that's where our calling here today is so important. And you have to know that return on investment, right? It be time, talent, or treasure. That return on investment is huge. The impact that Phil and his team are making at the Hub, the idea that just the facility itself and what it provides to the community, all these things are huge. So out of the Hoop Fest office, we also run Spokane AAU. So we're actually a big customer of the Hub. We rent it out every Saturday starting here in a few weeks, about a month, for tournaments and league play for basketball, 4th through 8th grade, boys and girls. So we're a big customer. So we understand the need in our area, our region, for facilities like the Hub, because believe me, that we don't have enough of them, and they are expensive to run. I mean, basketball especially, it's a lot of square footage, it's a lot of empty space. And so I know these things are very, very expensive to maintain, and the Hub is the best facility we have in our region, without question. It's the highest quality facility we have in our region. So again, I guess to end, be grateful. I'm grateful for the fact that I played basketball and had the opportunity to play basketball. I'm grateful for the fact that I made it 39 years without a major injury. I told my doctor that if I'm not running as fast and jumping as high in 6 months from now, I'm suing him for malpractice. So I plan to be back at 100%. And I plan to keep playing, because I think the game of basketball and what it does for the youth, what it does for the community, and what it does for people that are passionate about it, the benefits outweigh the risk without question, hands down. So again, thank you for coming out this morning to speak to y'all this morning. Again, what the Hub is doing, bricks and mortar is one piece. It's obviously an important piece, but you're also investing in the team with Phil and his group that put on these programs that impact the youth, and they're doing it. It's where the rubber meets the road. They're doing it day in and day out, and we have the opportunity to help facilitate that and sustain it into the future. Thank you.